The thing that's going to help you succeed with ADHD isn't a magical productivity hack or a quick fix to make your ADHD disappear. Trust me, if it was that simple, I'd be thrilled to give you that one solution and send you on your way. But that's not reality. To thrive with ADHD, whether in your career, your personal life, or just day to day, you need a strong foundation in place. And here's what I've seen after 20 years of working with students and adults with neurodiverse needs. Most people are missing this foundation, and that's what's keeping them stuck and holding them back. I'm Dr. Murphy with Effective Ever Consulting, and today I'll take you through the essentials of creating a structured and effective approach to ADHD management. By the end of this video, you'll have tools and strategies to help go from chaos to control in every area of your life. Stick around. So let's start with understanding your brain, because that's where most people go wrong. Too often, adults with ADHD force themselves into systems that work for neurotypical people. They try to find the structure that are just not designed for them, which leads to frustration, it leads to burnout, and it leads to constant feelings of falling behind. Here's the truth. Your ADHD brain is wired differently, and that's completely okay. In fact, once you start working with your brain and with your strengths, instead of against them, everything becomes easier. In a landmark study by the National Institute of Mental Health in 2017, researchers found that ADHD affects how the brain processes time and motivation, as you know, making traditional work routines difficult to sustain. The studies show that individuals with ADHD benefited from flexible structures that allows them to manage their energy naturally, rather than the rigid, one-size-fits-all neurotypical framework. So how do you start? Begin by tracking your energy throughout the day. Notice when you feel more focused and unfocused. Maybe it's early in the morning, or it's late at night, or it's around or after lunchtime. Try to reserve the most challenging tasks for those peak hours and save less demanding tasks when your focus naturally dips. One of my clients, Sarah, used to hit a wall in the afternoon and blame herself for not being productive. By adjusting her schedule and focusing on her hardest tasks in the morning, she saw her productivity increase because she was working smarter, not harder, and she was leveraging her strengths, which impacted her confidence as well as her work performance. Now let's talk about the environmental design, because too many people underestimate how much this affects the ADHD brain and task initiation and task completion. Most people try to work in an unstructured and sometimes unavailable space, relying on sheer willpower to keep them focused. Whether you're a student or adult, we've all been there. But ADHD doesn't like that, right? Environment matters to not only willpower, but productivity and just a feeling of calm and order, right? A journal of attentional disorder in 2019 published a study showing that adults with ADHD who created structure, distraction-free workspace, saw a 45% increase in sustained focus and were able to work up to 25% longer before needing a break. That's pretty significant when you think about the day-to-day task management process, whether it's work or personal life. Those are statistically significant data points to keep in mind. This research just highlights the power of an environment tailored to working smarter, not harder. So what do you do? Well, working in a clustered and noisy space makes it hard to focus, right? And often leads to procrastination. When your workspace supports your ADHD needs, you're kind of settled in better, right? You kind of start to feel like I'm more grounded and you're able to be consistently focused and productive. This all makes sense, but what do you do about that, right? Because sometimes it's super hard to create order when you're just surrounded by chaos. But start by creating a designated workspace that's just for you, and be vigilant in how you maintain it. Even if it's just a small corner of the home, or small corner of the basement, small corner of the attic, small corner of the family room area. Clear away visual distractions. Use noise-canceling headphones if you have to. And keep only the essentials that you need within reach. This is important. It allows you to create a framework of structure to help with initiation. Now let's imagine you've done that and you have the space. Well, now I need another tools and strategies to get tasks started and finished, right? We're going to call that task management. A big challenge for people with ADHD, as you know. Often the mistakes people make is relying on overly complex to-do lists and traditional planner designs for neurotypical people. This approach quickly leads to overwhelm and frustration, and therefore procrastination. A study by Dr. Barkley in a Journal of Clinical Psychology in 2015 found that simple visual task planning systems were far more effective for adults with ADHD than complex systems. And here's what happens. Many people with ADHD are super bright, they're cognitive load, they can take on really dynamic challenges, and their ability to manage complex information is a strength. But when it comes to the planning process, they're kind of debilitated. So they think a big complex system or many different planning systems is going to be a good solution. The opposite is true. Simple is better, and that's what sets the difference. By breaking tasks into smaller steps using a visual layout, participants in that study completed 30% more tasks on average and reported a reduced stress level. Of course, if you're getting it done, you kind of just feel less stressed, less overwhelmed, you feel more productive, and you obviously feel better about yourself, right? When you structure your tasks in a way that aligns with how your ADHD brain works, you'll be able to complete projects in a timely manner without the constant feeling of dread. Here's how. Use a simple visual task planning system. It can be a notebook. It can be an old school paper planner. It can be a digital planner. I guess it just matters. What's your strengths? What are your tendencies? And what can you leverage based on who you are? Something like a whiteboard can also work, or a digital tool like Trello works well with many people with ADHD because it lets you see your tasks at a glance without the clutter of endless lists. The planner pad is also an extremely helpful tool and something that we as a company promote with many of our adults. Look it up, plannerpad.com. It allows you to break down each task into small, actionable steps and focus on finishing one at a time. It also allows you to prioritize, which we can't ignore as a very important strategy in making sure that we're getting the right things done at the right time. For example, one of our adult clients, Mark, a client of mine that I've had for many years, now we just see each other on and off when he needs the boost and the reset. He was consistently overwhelmed by the lengthy tasks that he had to manage and projects that were kind of deep into the future. After switching to kind of a visual Trello-like board with clear categories, he was able to really focus better and initiate more important tasks in a timely way instead of waiting to the last week, which really supported not only his team's effort, but his confidence as the team leader. So let's talk about another recommendation and then building on each other. So this next one is really hard to kind of really see your way through without having some of these other structures or processes in place, but let's get into it. Communication systems is extremely important. Too many times people with ADHD rely on their memory to manage communication, to manage the day-to-day of information that's coming in and out. Like I'm leaving a meeting and I have information to follow up on. I'm checking emails and I have information to follow up on. It can be an ongoing struggle of managing the things that I might forget. So what do you do about that? Well, one big mistake here is relying on memory alone. So keep that in mind. No pun intended, which just doesn't work well with the ADHD tendencies. You need to have an external system to manage communication effectively. And like we said, that planner-like system may be something that anchors your communication system. And so you have two systems in one. Well, that's a win-win. Without a type of system, it's easy to miss follow-ups and important details, which can strain relationships, of course, because, date night on Friday night, I might forget. Or also relationships with colleagues and clients. Can't forget how it can also impact relationships with teachers, and missing assignments consistently, trying to keep track of homework on your mind and then showing up without your assignments done that day. It does impact a meaningful relationship with your teachers. So you need a system. You need a process that's super easy to take that information and put it into some type of calendar-like system to help remind you, your future self, what you have to get done and what you have to remember. And there's way too many solutions for this. You just need something that works for you and your strengths and your tendencies. So it can be as simple as a Google Calendar. I mean, for me, I have a Google phone, so it's super easy for me to ask Google to put a reminder into my calendar for tomorrow at 3:30 to remind me to do something. Now that's a pretty cool. I can just speak into my phone and it does that right away. If you have an Apple phone, the same types of strategies can apply using AI to help initiate and transition that information from your mind into something that can help me track it, right? And supports working memory. For many people with ADHD, working memory is something that we over rely on. And for many of us, it can be a weakness in general. So we don't want to tax it to the point where it makes us, overwhelmed and stressed and we're forgetting things constantly. So that's one example, right? So there's other ways you can do that. So you can think about the planner you're already using and how you can pull that out to, sometimes that's a little too clunky, right? So you need a process. Sometimes people carry around a notebook, just small little notebook in their hands. As soon as something comes up, they write it down as a reminder and they come back to it later on. When you leave meetings, there's some people take information from those meetings and they have to, after a meeting, they have to do a brain dump of what happened in that meeting that they need to follow up on. And they put it into their process to make sure that they're taking that information from working memory or from their notes and putting it into an actionable process. And obviously, if you're a student, the planner, an agenda, it's a full, safe, kind of, I would say, idiot-proof. I mean, it's really hard to screw up if I'm using something like that consistently. It allows me just to brain dump what I got to get done tonight. Oh yeah, my teacher said that, I got to write that down. Oh yeah, I'm going to this thing on Friday and I got to write that down because, oh man, Sunday night's totally booked. I can't do work on Sunday night. Oh man, I got to plan to do stuff on Saturday or else I'm going to show up on Monday with nothing done. Finally, let's talk about how this relates to even career choices, because sometimes we find ourselves in a career box that we just don't fit. And that leads to all sense of overwhelm because we're not able to use our strengths and our weaknesses are exploited to the point of just debilitating, unmet professional expectations. Let's dig into this. The ADHD brain needs careers, jobs that align with their natural strengths and tendencies. It's so important. The most successful people with ADHD are successful primarily because they focused on what they were good at, focused on their strength, focused on their interests, and let those passions and interests build the story of their career. Right? A common mistake that I see when you're in a job that doesn't match your needs, it often leads to burnout, low motivation, and constant job hopping, even within the industry that you may really not fit. But when you find a role that aligns with your strengths, you naturally unlock your motivation and long-term satisfaction. To figure out the right career path, it's important to just take time to reflect on what energizes you. Look at roles that allow creativity, allow problem solving, allow variety, at least allow your innate abilities to shine, because that's really what's most important. We do a lot of career coaching with our young adults primarily, right? Because they're in transitions in their life. One of my clients, John, he struggled in kind of the monotonous administrative role. It was a desk job. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes the desk job is the worst type of job for people with ADHD. But when he switched to a more creative job, working with people in a creative space on projects that he was passionate about, he felt more engaged and motivated. But that was a tough transition because he had to build the confidence and he had to build the sense of just inner knowing that I can improve my life and find a career that better aligns with who I want to be. By making this transition, he was able to improve his motivation, improve his energy, and obviously improve his productivity. I hope this blueprint helps you move from chaos to control as you think about who you are today, your goals, and how to make life easier, not harder. I'm a huge fan of working smarter, not harder. One thing I have to do is take stock in my strengths and the challenges that are making life more difficult. Life's already difficult. We don't have to make it more difficult. So we just have to decide to get accountable to ourselves on what's going to make it easier. So I hope these suggestions help you. These suggestions are fundamental, but important, right? Understanding your brain, designing your environment effectively, structured tasks and how I manage them, setting up communication systems that allow me to keep track of information out of my brain onto systems, and aligning my career with my strengths, interests, and passions. None of these are overly easy to transition into, but they can be so fundamental to your success that if I stay accountable to them, they become the foundation that everything else builds on. I know it's a lot, but even if you start with just one of these strategies, you're likely to see growth in that area. And I would say be consistent in it for a while. right? Get past the newness of it and get into like, okay, I got to break that kind of shiny new time period that usually leads to me stopping. Try to break through that and see if I can give myself 6 weeks of trying one of these strategies and then building on there. If you're interested in working with us to build a personalized system tailored to your unique ADHD style and goals, then please reach out. Click the link below and set up a free screening with me, Dr. Murphy, and let's see how we can help. And don't forget to check out the rest of the videos that we have in this playlist. There may be others there that can help you. All the best to you in your journey through life. See you next time.